The WWE game hasn't been looking so hot. 2K20 was a financial flop. They lost money for WWE. They lost money for 2K. Devs are leaving the company, and that's not looking good for the wrestling game. So what that means is that a lot of people want an alternative to the WWE games. Well, the true alternative to WWE right now in North America is All Elite Wrestling AEW. There's been a lot of stuff going on with AEW. They even teased a big announcement on Being the Elite, which actually just went up today. And then they actually had a big announcement, another one, which was with their action figures. They have an action figure line. Now we're going to talk all about AEW, the video game, where it currently stands, where the future may be going, and what publisher I think they should be going with. So as we know, Yukes left WWE Games, and they went on their own. They separated from 2K and said, we're going to go make our own pro wrestling game. And that's what they wanted to do. Now, all things have been silent on that front, and we don't know what they're working on behind the scenes. All we know is that they had a lot of cool tech that they wanted to try out, and they were going to make something awesome out of it. Then comes AEW, which everybody wondered, AEW, are you going to make a video game? Are you going to make a wrestling video game? That was one of the first questions asked. They did like a fan Q&A, and Kenny Omega said, we'd love to make a video game. We love video games. I play Apex all the time. So that was one of those things that he had to put out there and said, yeah, we would love to do a video game. Now, there was some scanning going on, like face scanning, and they showed people in front of a bunch of cameras, and we assumed that it was going to be a part of the video game. But it turns out that's not what it was. What it actually was for their action figure line by Wicked Cool Toys, which actually looks pretty cool. They have some chase figures that you can actually go try and get. I think there's like 1,000 of this Chris Jericho one with the t-shirt of the Inner Circle, and there's a lot of cool ones. So anyway, the scan was not for the video game. And we were just wondering, where does this lead this? And that comes up to today, where they had said, it was actually Matt Jackson who put on Instagram, and he said that he has a big announcement on Being the Elite. And we're wondering, ooh, yeah, this could be it. He's going to announce the video game. And it turns out that's not what it was. It turns out that the Young Bucks are actually working on a book. They have a book that's coming out from the backyard to the big business, or whatever they're calling it. From the backyard to the big leagues, I think is what it's called. It's the Young Bucks story. It's a book about their lives, which is pretty cool if you're into that sort of thing. That's the kind of thing that we're going to be getting. So the big announcement wasn't the video game. It was a Young Bucks book where they're going to just talk about their whole life, how they got from the backyard wrestling up to AEW, where they're at to become huge stars. Like we always say, the Young Bucks made it on their own, and kudos to you for doing what they're doing. But we want to know, are we going to get a video game? Do we get an AEW video game? They've been teasing it. Kenny Omega said that they were going to talk about it. And actually, back in January, I didn't report on this, but Kenny Omega actually came out and said that they might have something coming up. And here is what he had to say. So Kenny Omega went on a Twitter Q&A and he responded briefly to a question about AEW's long-awaited video game. While Omega wasn't able to confirm any specific details about AEW's first video game plans, he did have a teaser for the fans. Asked a simple question, video game news, question mark? Omega responded equally brief, coming hopefully soon, is what he says. Already understanding that sometimes things take longer than expected in the business. He later answered a similar question that said, we can almost talk a little bit about it. Still, if Omega is confident enough to speak publicly about AEW's game, then it must be progressing nicely. So there's Kenny Omega taking to Twitter, answering some questions, saying that we can almost not work. What this means is that they're working on steps to getting a video game, and they're going to have something in the future. That doesn't mean it's going to come now. Honestly, if it was up to me, I would do something at C2E2, but I think they're doing the action figure line at C2E2, so they're not going to bog that down with a video game wrestling thing, maybe coming towards like the end of the year. I don't know what they want to do. Maybe more convention stuff they can do, and they can announce a video game, if they even have a video game going on right now. And what I'm seeing here is that Kenny Omega, from what I know of his likes and dislikes about pro wrestling video games, they really want to get like a No Mercy. They literally want like an AKI game. They want a No Mercy clone. They want a game like that. And Yukes, who was the publisher of choice that I would say they should go with, they are not going to create something like that. That is not the style that Yukes does. They are not going to do the AKI engine. Sin Sophia, which now I think makes like dating sims or something, they do not, or that engine is not out there. I mean, there's modders making some really great stuff. There was just a cool one released the other day. AKI Evolution, I believe, is what it was called. But there is not any indication that AEW is going to get that. And this is the big issue. And I've talked a little bit about it on the Deadlock podcast with James and Johnny, and we have been just discussing this back and forth. And if they're going to kind of not work with Yukes because they want to hold off on like an AKI type game, or if they want to do like if it's not going to, here's the thing. I'm stuttering here because I'm very passionate about this subject. They need to take a deal with Yukes. If they don't take a deal with Yukes, they're going to miss out on this opportunity to have a perfect storm coming together. This is literally a perfect storm. You have AEW, who's taking the wrestling world by storm by being different and standing out from WWE. Then you have Yukes, who left 2K and was like, we're going to go do our own things. They're trying to start their own wrestling game revolution. Put those together, it's a match made in heaven. If this doesn't actually happen and we don't get this game, if this isn't a Yukes game that makes the AEW game, then I think Yukes' best option for them is to go with New Japan Pro Wrestling and do a Wrestle Kingdom game. That would be the best way to do it, is go with New Japan Pro Wrestling, make a Wrestle Kingdom game, and that would be fire as well. I think Yukes has some great technology. They love pro wrestling. If you know all the moves that were put in the WWE games, it's because of the people at Yukes and the way they love pro wrestling, and they just try to include all their favorite stuff in the game. So I think if you get Yukes, work with New Japan or AEW, I'd love to see an AEW game. I really would. I think it would be an awesome fit. I think there's a lot of great things. But it just makes me wonder, will Kenny Omega and the rest of the people behind the scenes get over the hump of like, we're going to get a No Mercy game? Because honestly, that pipe dream of getting another No Mercy game running on that engine, I don't think that's going to happen. I honestly don't. I don't think that's something that's actually going to happen in 2020, 2025. I just don't think. I think that engine's gone. I think we're just moved on from that. That style of wrestling game is gone. If you want to play, there's lots of mods and a lot of great stuff coming out of the modding community for that game. I mean, it was groundbreaking for a reason. It's like almost like you think of like Doom and how revolutionary that game was, and people still make mods for that game to this day. It's the same thing with the AKI games. People still make mods to this day because it was so revolutionary. But as you know, people don't really go back and try and capture that engine. They're really like, we learn from this and we move forward and we do better and bigger things. I don't think that kind of game would really work. But again, I could bite my tongue here and I could be completely wrong. And I could say, this doesn't look like it's going to happen that way. Maybe he'll have an announcement say, yo, we got the engine. We're making it. That would be wild. That would be wild. I'd be shocked. But I think their best bet right now is AEW's over here. Yukes is over here. You guys got to get together. You guys got to get together and make this thing a game. Seriously, you got to get this game going. And I don't know that you really need to... Well, actually, you know what? I was going to say, you don't really need to rush it. I don't know. I was going to say, is it really the right time to release a wrestling video game? But yeah, right now is the perfect time to release a great pro wrestling video game, with the WWE game being as poor shape as it is right now. This would be a perfect opportunity for them to do that. And I think with Kenny Omega saying that, yeah, we have some information coming up soon, I think what they could be doing is saying, hey, we're working on a game. We have a publisher and we're going to move forward and we're going to have a game for you. I don't know if they're going to wait to release some like screenshots, release some like publisher name, release some details on what kind of game it's going to be or any of that. But I think that if they don't do it right with Yukes, then we're going to be disappointed. And if Yukes doesn't do AEW and Yukes does New Japan, that'll be okay too. But if Yukes doesn't do New Japan or AEW and they just release like an unlicensed wrestling game, that'll be a bummer as well, because I don't want that unlicensed wrestling game. That sounds like a bummer to me. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the video game stuff. Hopefully we'll have more news soon. I really want to know more about this wrestling game. I want it to take off. I want it to be like success because we saw there hasn't been many games that have competed against the WWE game and been successful. Fire Pro Wrestling has been one that has been successful. That's completely different. But if we can get like a high quality game like Yukes, man, would I love that. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think about all of this. What do you want to see in a WWE video game? AEW video game, actually. Guys, let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Let me know what you want to see in an AEW video game. Do you want to see the AKI engine come back, or do you want to see Yukes take over and do something awesome? Anyway, guys, I'm TonyPizzaGuy. We will see you in another video.